Welcome back to the JC League House. I want to thank everybody who's subscribed to the channel and has been following along as I work to restore this house. And if you haven't already, check out our Instagram account where you can see some quicker and more timely updates and just random things going on at the house. With that, let's get into today's topic, and that's the roof. Let me just start by saying this is a big house with a big roof. Not only is it big, it's really high off the ground. It's 60, 70, possibly 80 feet at the very peak. It's very, very steeply sloped. It has lots of valleys. It has dormers. It has custom metal venting. It has this weird flat well in the front. It's got clay finials on top. You name it, this roof has it. It has 4 chimneys sticking out of it. It's even got a cupola. So it's a complicated roof to deal with. When I first bought the house, I thought it was in pretty good shape. It looked a little rough, but there was no sign of active leaking, unlike the flat roof where I'm standing right now, where, as you remember, there was a big hole, and this was an emergency thing that had to be done like starting the first week I owned the house. So flat roof's taken care of, but the peaked roof, I thought I could buy myself some time and spend the money elsewhere in the house. Unfortunately, right after Hurricane Nicholas, leaks developed around 2 of the chimneys. Something happened in the rain and the wind and changed things, and it became very urgent that I take a good look at the peaked roof and maybe look at a replacement for that. I immediately started getting quotes to replace the roof, and the numbers weren't good. One quote for a complete replacement was over $120,000. Since the leaks were primarily around the chimneys, I looked at having a specialist come in and just do the chimney work that was needed and replace the shingles around that as necessary. Those estimates were as high as $8,000 per chimney, which was much more manageable, but just didn't make sense since some of that shingle work would have to be redone at some point in the future when the whole roof got replaced. It couldn't last forever the way it was. So I hate paying twice for the same work. So I took some time and really studied the roof layout, and I came up with, I thought was a good plan to do a partial replacement of the roof. It would cover the 3 chimneys, stop all the active leaks, and buy myself some time to put money towards other things that needed more immediate attention. You can see here on this drawing the areas of the roof that were included in this new scope of work. They're highlighted in red. That green is the flat roof that was already done. The blue shaded area is all the parts that'll have to be done later. I tell you, coloring in all that blue was a little depressing. It's a much bigger area than I thought it was. But at least there's only 1 chimney left to do, and that weird flat spot, and the cupola, and that really deteriorated custom vent. I don't know if I can survive all this. After you watch the rest of the video, you'll know why. I looked online for roofers, read a lot of reviews, drove around Galveston, looked at other roof work that was going on, and started getting quotes for the reduced scope. Let me say here that putting on shingles is not the hard part if a roof layout is simple. Flashing is critical. Flashing to brick, particularly around chimneys in this configuration on this house, is hard. I watched over 20 hours of videos on chimney flashing and read all kinds of information so I could ask the right questions and make sure the quotes I was getting covered all the work that needed to be done. I'd had chimney work done at the Lucas apartments, but those chimneys were set in a wall and not set in the slope of a roof like these here at the League House. Remember, the chimneys are the big problem that needs to be addressed, so I wanted to make sure it was done right the first time. Let me also say I have never had a positive roofing experience in Galveston. I went through 5 different roofers on the Lucas apartments before getting the leak stopped there, so I started this selection process prepared to ask tough questions. I did not want a repeat of that fiasco. This roof was also stressful for me because I couldn't physically go up and look at the chimneys. My family would lock me up if I crawled out on that roof, no matter what kind of harness I had on. Several companies brought out drones to inspect the roof, so that helped. Others did it the old-fashioned way, by climbing up on it. Absolute insanity. We're having 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and the roofers decided to go check something out. I finally settled on a company, and then things just started going downhill immediately. Through no fault of the company, I couldn't get the shingles I wanted because of the supply shortages caused by COVID. Unless I live to be 100, this roof is going to be up there until I am long gone, and I was just heartsick that I couldn't get the look I wanted. I had wanted a slate look to mimic the original roof as close as possible, but the leaks couldn't wait for the supply chain to get sorted out, so I just had to suck it up and make a decision based on what was available and what I could match at a future point in time when I did the rest of the roof. I settled for my 5th color choice and a different style shingle. Even that color choice had about a month wait time. There was also some custom flashing that had to be fabricated, and that was going to take some time. Then I had to wait for a specialty roofing crew that would work on a steep slope. Then there was bad weather, so it was almost Christmas before the roofers had me on their schedule. The day finally arrived and problems continued. First, the material hadn't been delivered, so the specialty crew started another job and I had to wait again. Then there was a permit issue because this is in a protected historic district. Finally, the roofing material showed up and things seemed to be sorted out. The roofers came with a 10-man crew, took one look at the house, and promptly left. They work as specialty subcontractors to the roofing company I'd been dealing with. The crew lead told me that they had been told the roof was 20 feet high, and they were not told about the chimneys, and now that they personally saw the job, they wouldn't do it for the price they agreed to with the contractor. Even if they weren't upset about the money, they didn't bring any of the right equipment, the ladders or lifts or anything needed to do a roof so high. Imagine trying to carry all those shingles up to a roof by hand without a lift like this. They also didn't have that special piece of flashing that was supposed to be custom made, which I was told was a big part of the delay getting scheduled in the first place. I don't know what went on between the contractor and the sub as far as renegotiating what they were going to get paid, but I had some very terse words with the estimator who gave me the bid. It took a day or two, but something got worked out, and a couple days later, the crew was scheduled to come back. It was very foggy, and the drive-in was a nightmare. I wondered if they would even show up to work in these kind of conditions, but sure enough they did, and this time they had 20 people. One group started laying out big tarps to cover the ground all around the house. Others started up on the top of the roof securing safety lines, and within minutes the old roof started coming off and shingles were just raining down on all sides. It looked like the house was an ant pile that had been kicked. There were guys everywhere. A huge storm was forecast in the next 48 hours, so I was happy and nervous all at the same time to see the work get started. But I was praying really hard that it could get finished in time. There was no turning back. Things seemed to be going well, but once they were up on the roof, it was clear that the eyebrow arch on top of the round porch was just too damaged to stay and it needed to come down. The crew leader was really happy about this because he said it would save him like 3 or 4 hours of work, and he was glad to have it gone. But then the estimator called and told me they were going to charge me $3,000 for additional material to shingle where it had been. I am not a novice. I calculated the cost of the necessary shingles, and it was something like $12. That was kind of the last straw, and I had many loud swear words to say at the estimator on the phone, and he hung up on me. Needless to say, I did not pay extra. Working around that pointy cone took forever. Each shingle had to be hand-cut and fit because of the shape. It was so difficult they brought in a lift, and the crew lead did the work himself. Work continued on, but I couldn't stand not seeing what was going on, so I steeled myself and climbed up the back valley of the roof to get a close-up look of what was going on the other side. I figured the worst thing that could happen to me was that I'd slide down and scrape myself up, but I'd land on the flat part of the roof. You can't see me in this picture because I'm spread eagle laying on my stomach, so I don't roll down the roof. This guy looked horrified when he saw me coming over the top. I had a death grip on the top cap, so I only managed to get a couple of pictures. The actual shingling part of the job looked okay. The crew lead was very accommodating and spent a lot of time answering my questions and consulting me about flashing work around the windows, and even patched a couple of suspect spots on the part of the roof that wasn't getting replaced. A big problem became obvious on the second day with what was happening, or should I say not happening, with the chimneys. Special flashing had been purchased and delivered, but it wasn't being used. So I got the crew leader and talked to him about the chimneys, and he just flat out told me that they weren't getting paid to do them, so they weren't going to do them. I didn't have time to worry about it because a big storm was coming and they needed to get finished with the rest of the roof. Then there was a lot of cleanup to do on the grounds. But all those tarps they'd put down made it really easy to pick up all the shingles and collect nails. Most of the guys left, but a few stayed behind to make sure everything was as clean as it could be. It only had taken them a day and a half to do the whole job. Before I could even get a chance to call and talk to the owner of the company about the chimneys, that big rain came and just all hell broke loose in the house. The owner of the roofing company just left. He's looked at the chimneys that were done or not done at all. But I basically want to document. Look at all this water. This is down on the first floor dining room where it's leaked so badly. It's flooded out here. I'm soaking these floors. And this is also where we have bad termite infestation going up to Uncle Lee's bedroom where you saw the demo. Let's go up there and take a look. Here I am in Uncle Lee's bedroom. You can see the water that flooded in. It even made splash marks. It was coming in so fast. And this whole column is saturated. Here I am in the third floor. That's a water stain where water was running down. You can see that's fresh and saturated and ran down. That's what went down into Uncle Lee's bedroom down there where we just were. My tiny occasional leak around the two east chimneys turned into Niagara Falls. The chimneys had been in better shape before they replaced the roof. It had just made everything worse. I went absolutely ballistic again. In all fairness to the owner of the company, he came out immediately, reviewed the work, and agreed that the work that had been quoted had not been done. He sent 3 guys back out, and they spent another 9 or 10 hours working on the chimneys, and so far there have been no more leaks. I thought I was finally done with the roof, and then one day I looked up and saw this. I had forgotten all about that specialty piece of flashing that had been made, and I couldn't believe that they'd just stuck it up on the house this way. So once again, I called the owner, and he apologized and came out personally and supervised removing it and putting it on correctly. I had been worried that having 2 completely different roof colors and types would be noticeable and strange between the old roof and the new roof, but I think the roof looks pretty good. There's enough separation between the old roof and new that it's not obvious unless you know what to look for. I'm happy the roofing company stood behind their bid and worked everything out and made it right, but it was awful getting caught in the middle of whatever went on between the contractor and the sub, and I'm hoping the remaining roof hangs on for a while because I am not ready to go through the roofing process again. I'm going to keep a close eye on the chimneys for leaks, and fortunately or unfortunately, it'll be a long time before the walls get put back up, so I can monitor that situation and make sure the chimneys are okay. The League-Kempner house was too special to be owned by any one person, so a nonprofit was set up with the mission to return this amazing house to its original glory and make sure it never falls into decay again. The doors will be open to all who want to come visit and learn about its place in Galveston history. You can be a part of preserving this house for future generations by donating through our website, League-Kempnerhouse.org. You can also find a volunteer sign-up sheet on the website if you'd like to get directly involved. All the work that's being done is documented here on YouTube, and just by watching these videos, you're also playing a part in saving this incredible property. So don't miss out on any of the trials and tribulations as we tackle some big issues. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep up with our efforts. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time here in Galveston, Texas at the amazing League-Kempner house.